The knowledge that the communities that I'm in share is very powerful enough to change the world and is going to change the world inevitably because it is the only thing that absolutely can. I'm very firm in that sense of understanding because we understand how the mind works, how the world works. And when you have that very valuable knowledge, a lot of things can happen, especially when you share that knowledge with other people and you build communities. But when you build communities and you do meet other people and you do build a great network, other things happen. And one of the things that happen among the education is accountability. Accountability is a huge topic. Whether you're talking about your personal health, talking to someone else's health, it's all a matter of accountability. You see, education is accountability. Okay, if I were to ask you a question, I'm holding you accountable to a certain fact of knowledge, a certain point or idea that I want to address. Okay, and so people will have cognitive dissonance to questions that are holding them accountable. Okay, because it's new knowledge that they don't currently have within their understanding. That is what cognitive dissonance is having previous knowledge in conflict with new incoming knowledge and trying to find out, well, what is it that I actually believe? And those beliefs come from the knowledge that you have. And that separates belief from knowledge purely in a sense of, well, belief is you're just guessing and having faith on hope on something, whereas knowledge is you have a firm sense of this is what it is. And a lot of people take a lot of things on faith nowadays. A lot of people look at the news and what's going on and act like they know about these people or what's going on or what's been signed or what documents are there or what codes are there, what laws are there. All that stuff is out of their control, not made by them, something that they were not a part of, but they assume to have those things in their reality. They assume those things are actually true, and they take it on faith. A lot of people take things on faith, but you can only hope that it is true, right? And that's why you share it. The knowledge that we teach in these communities is very different from that knowledge because it's knowledge that you can understand through your personal experience, through experience that you have all the time, experiences that you've had since you were very young, and anybody has everywhere on earth because we all have the same capabilities and capacities toward understanding that knowledge. Okay, so knowledge and education, these two are together just as much as accountability and education. Because when we learn something new, not only are we holding ourselves accountable, when we're teaching someone else something new, we're holding them accountable. And if we're saying education is important, we are saying we need more accountability, ultimately. Okay, we're saying that accountability is important. So I'm going to give an example of this, okay? There's a lot of people who are having a lot of networks, and one of the networks that I talk about on my channel is the assemblies, the common law assemblies, as I like to call them, the American State Nationals, whatever you want to call them, TASA, the American States Assembly. This is a network of people. Now, they have messages and they have a lot of core functions that I talk about, which is really important for any movement or any change. And look at the One Great Work network as well. I mean, it's a network, so it's a bunch of people coming together. But as more people come together, conflicts can happen. And conflicts are less likely to happen when people are grounded and understand the same things, when the knowledge is firmly in the sense of this is what we are here to do, this is what we represent, this is what it is, right? But when that knowledge is sort of not so emphasized and there's less education emphasis, you're going to notice conflicts. And so this happens in any community. As people grow in larger masses of numbers, there's going to be conflicts. That's going to be natural. But reducing those conflicts comes with increasing the education, increasing the accountability, and actually inviting it in. Allowing dissent, allowing people to share their ideas, and allowing people to question everything. Because questioning everything is how you get to that point of innovation in the first place. You wouldn't have found an alternative platform or an alternative network, an alternative life, if it weren't for questioning things in the first place, if it wasn't for finding new education, if it wasn't for holding yourself accountable or others. So accountability is so important. And that's what people do, whether it's coaches or doctors, or at least they should, is hold people accountable to their own decisions. Why are you eating this food? What are you doing in your life that's causing this issue? And so every time we ask questions, we are encouraging accountability. And if you break down accountability, you get account of ability. And if you think of interviews, interviews are usually lined up as questions. I am going to ask you this question and hold you to your account as to what knowledge you currently have. So it's an account of ability. What abilities, what knowledge do you have in your ableness, in your capacity to share with the audience, to share with others? So just keep in mind that when we have responsibility, it's the ability to respond. But when you have accountability, it's how much ability you have to be responsible, to share knowledge with others, right? It's taking an account of ability. So when we hold ourselves accountable and we ask ourselves some questions, we are informing ourselves as to what we should do and what we currently are doing. And so, like I said, education will then help keep us grounded, reflecting, understanding what's the next step I'm going to take in this life, what's the next food I'm going to add into this life. It's knowing what to do. And so if you lack education in any system of community, do not be surprised when you see that there is a lack of communication, a lack of groundedness on action, a lack of directedness as to what should be done, because the education was not at the foundations to that community. See, I said the 3 steps was education, networking, and representation. If all 3 aren't present together, then you have an issue. Okay, because you need somebody to make the material, and you need the material to lead to the education. But you need that material to have education. And again, that material relies on people. Everything of those three steps sort of to connect to each other. So having groundedness in those 3 steps, or having groundedness within each other in our communication, makes everything easier. See, online, people can get away with things because they're not in person. So let's say you have a meeting call with a bunch of people because you want to organize events or organize your network, right? If you're online, you have an administrator, somebody who has to get the link. But does that make them any more special than anyone else? Does that give them the ability to kick out anybody they think is disruptive? They should work with everybody else, right? They should be a natural leader, an example to others, and encourage discourse, right? Like I mentioned. But there should be an emphasis on the education, and understand that, well, you're not there in person, so people might be less likely to speak up. People may be more likely to fall asleep. People are not going to get the full experience. So if you were there in person, people would be more likely to speak up. And if they do speak up, they can't just be kicked out in one click. They have to be addressed. And people are more likely to address them there and then and not run away from the problem. This is why so many people go on social media and they're like, I want to hold this person accountable. I want to hold this person accountable. Let me write this thing. Let me write this tweet. Let me complain. And what is it really doing? Is that really holding people accountable? You can say, yeah, it's asking questions, it's sharing knowledge, but online it's a little different from in person. So I just figured to mention that, because it's important when we do at the process of education and accountability, we recognize what barriers we also face in that process, in how we share that education and how we share that accountability. You have to sort of experiment and sort of utilize different methods of communication, but ultimately that discourse should be encouraged, I would say, in sort of having self-defense, as to say, this is where I stand and this is what I think needs to be addressed, is to say, learn your lesson, do not aggress. If I am self-defensing against an aggressor, I'm saying, learn your lesson. You do not get to control me. You do not get to tell me what to do with my life. You are telling them what to learn, because you're holding them accountable. Education and accountability, you see, are the same thing. And I make a lot of correlations like this, saying, well, this is the same thing as this is the same thing as that, ultimately, in my presentation, Naturosophy. Now, of course, different terms have different meanings, so of course that's why they exist separately, but there are a lot of words in our vocabulary that mean the same thing or have similar relationships. So accountability is one of those things. We wouldn't hold people accountable if we didn't know something that they did not know, right? So there's definitely a reason to hold people accountable. And again, to sort of discourage that would be to discourage innovation itself, the very thing that created this new system or this alternative system or whatever, because that's what we're going to need to do in the future world if we're trying to create a world of freedom, is create alternative systems that work with people, work not with one person controlling everything. And people need to hold each other accountable to make sure things stay in line as such, where people are at an even playing field. But that depends just on people, right? And that depends on awareness and more knowledge. And I said in that presentation, I said, knowledge is the only good, ignorance is the only evil. If you ignore the fact that you want to hold someone accountable, well, they're never going to get the knowledge to help them do something that you want them to do. So you're also helping them be ignorant as well. And you're actually creating more ignorance in the process by not being honest, by not speaking up, by not holding people accountable. So that's just how important accountability is. Again, it's an account of ability. And I say you need to use nature or lose nature. It's essentially saying you need to use your ability or you'll lose your ability. Well, you have the ability to speak. You have the ability to think. And you can only think for yourself. So I want people to hold me accountable. I want people to ask questions. And even, people addressing the topics and all the things I talk about on my channel, I encourage that. Because not only does that get people talking about it in general, which is already productive, it gets people thinking. And then it causes more conversations to happen that wouldn't have happened, that cause the ideas to then get better and headed in the right direction. That is, again, sort of like this filter as to wow, here you have a water filter, and there's toxins in the water, but we need water to hydrate, we say. So if we filter through the toxins, we can just get the good and get out the bad. And that's exactly what we do with abolitionism as well. It's all a matter of accountability. And so when people say, I want to hold this politician accountable, we need to make sure we hold these politicians accountable. Are you asking them questions? Are you asking the people questions? Because questions is what matters. And if you're expecting the answer from them, maybe that's not where you should look for the answer either. See, I said questions are important for education, but what about answers, right? Well, you say you educate to provide answers. But how do you provide answers without first providing a question? Everybody must be questioned, even the politicians, the people that they follow. Everybody must be questioned, not just one person. Because the people who follow them may be following them for reasons that are not so much worth following. So we need to question everything and hold everybody accountable so they can be the best ability that they can be. And, transmit the best energy, the best capabilities into the world. Thank you very much for watching. This is Corey Angelot. Nature is the answer.